I don't understand the Comedy of Errors. What is this book about?
Hello, I overhear you're having some troubles.
I am. I don't understand this book.
Well, I'm William Shakespeare, and I actually wrote that novel.
Well, can you tell me what it's about?
I most certainly can. I would be happy. I know much about it, considering I wrote it. William Shakespeare was a poet, dramatist, and actor born in April of 1564 in Stratford-upon-Avon. He died in April 1616, also in Stratford. He was married to Anne Hathaway, and together they had 3 children, Susanna, Judith, and Hamnet. He created his works during the Renaissance era. There are disputes about how many plays Shakespeare has written, but it is estimated that he has written about 37 plays. The Comedy of Errors is one of his first plays. Besides plays, Shakespeare has written about 154 sonnets.
Shakespeare wrote the Comedy of Errors sometime between 1590 and 1594, making it one of his earliest plays. Shakespeare borrowed the plot from a comedy by the Roman playwright Plautus called The Menechmi, which features a pair of identical twin sons to a Syracusan merchant. The Comedy of Errors observes Aristotle's unities of time, place, and action. It also explores the theme of mistaken identity. The story takes place within one day, in one location, and every incident in the play contributes to the main plot.
There are a few key characters that you should be aware of before we begin. Antipholus of Ephesus is the twin brother of Antipholus of Syracuse and the son of Aegeon.
Dromio of Syracuse is the slave of Antipholus of Syracuse, and Dromio of Ephesus is the slave of Antipholus of Ephesus. Both the slaves are witty and good-natured.
A long time ago, 2 sets of twins were separated after birth in a horrific storm that ended in a shipwreck. One set of twins, Antipholus of Syracuse and Antipholus of Ephesus, were the sons of Aegeon and Aemilia, and the other set, Dromio of Syracuse and Dromio of Ephesus, were slaves that Aegeon and Aemilia recently purchased. At the time of the shipwreck, both sets of twins were infants. The parents in both sets of twins were separated and eventually arrived in 2 different towns that were at war with each other.
Aegeon never saw his wife or son again. He raised Antipholus and Dromio of Syracuse until they were 18, when they set to find their lost brother. When the 2 boys set off, Aegeon decided he wanted to find his long-lost family as well. This task was difficult because going to Ephesus could cause him execution because he is from Syracuse. Eventually, the people from Ephesus found out that Aegeon is a foreigner and told him he has one day to come up with enough money to spare his life.
Meanwhile, the boys Aegeon raised, Antipholus and Dromio of Syracuse, arrived in Ephesus. After they arrived, both sets of twins constantly got mixed up. The first time, Dromio of Syracuse went to get a room for him and Antipholus of Syracuse to stay in while they were in Ephesus. While he was gone, Dromio of Ephesus mixed up his master with Antipholus of Syracuse. Dromio of Ephesus told Antipholus of Syracuse that his wife wanted him to come home from dinner. As expected, Antipholus of Syracuse was extremely confused because he did not have a wife. More situations like the one described arose between both Antipholus and Dromio's.
This is something I do owe to you, is growing to me by Antipholus, and in the instant that I met with you, he had me of a chain. At 5 o'clock, I shall receive the money for the same. Please, if you walk with me down to his house, I will discharge you my bond, and thank you too.
While I go to the goldsmith house, go thou and buy a rope's end that I will bestow among my wife and her confederates, for locking me out of the doors by day, but soft I see the goldsmith. Get thee gone, buy thee rope, and get me home.
I buy 1,000 a year. I buy a rope.
A man is well holp up that trusts to you. I promised your presents and the chain, but neither chain nor goldsmith came to me. Belike you thought your love would last too long.
Saving your merry humor, here's the note. How much your chain weighs? To the utmost carat, the finest of gold, and the chargeful fashion, which doth amount to the 3 old ducats more. Then I stand debated to this gentleman. I pray you see him presently discharged, for he is bound to sea, and stays but for it.
I am not furnished with the present money. Besides, I have some business in the town. Good sign, I take the stranger to my house, and with you take the chain and bid my wife. Disperse the sum and receipt thereof. Perhaps I will be there as soon as you.
You'll bring the chain to her yourself?
No, bear it with you, lest I come time though.
Well, sir, I will. Have you the chain about you?
And if I have not, sir, I hope you have. Or at least you may return without your money.
Nay, come, I pray you, sir, give me the chain. Both wind and tide stays for this gentleman, and I to blame have held him here for too long.
Good Lord, you use this disalliance to excuse your breach of promise to the Propentine. I should have chid you for not bringing it, but like a shrew you first begin to roll.
You hear how he importunes me? The chain!
Why, give it to my wife and fetch your money.
Come, you know I give it to you even now. Either send the chain or send me some token.
Why, now you run this humour out of your breath. Come, where's the chain? I pray you let me see it. I answer you, why should I answer you?
The money you owe me for the chain.
I owe you none till I see the chain.
You know I gave it to you a half hour since.
You gave me none, you are wrong to much say so.
You wrong me more, sir, in denying it. Consider how it stands upon my credit. I consent to pay this sum for me, or I attach you by this officer.
Consent to pay thee that I never had. Arrest me, foolish fellow, I thou dost.
Here is thy fee. Arrest him, officer. I would not spare my brother in this case, if he should scorn me so apparently.
I do obey thee till I give the bail. But, sirrah, you shall buy the sport as a dear, as all the metal in your shop will answer.
Sir, I shall have law in Ephesus. To not a shame, I doubt it not. Master, there's a bark of equidium that stays but till her owner comes aboard. And then, sir, she bears away. Or fraughted, sir, I have conveyed aboard, and I have brought the oil, the balsam, and the aquavitae. The ship is in her trim. The merry wind blows far from the land. They stay for naught at all, but their owner, master, and yourself.
Madam, of heaven's ship? What ship of Edadion stays for me?
A ship that you sent me to see in Hithridge.
Thou drunken slave, I sent thee for a rope, and told thee what purpose and what end.
You sent me for ropes, and as soon. You sent me to the bay for a bark.
I will debate this matter at more leisure, and teach your ears to listen in more heard. To Adrena villain, hick thee straight. Give her this key and tell her in her desk, that covered old Turkish tapestry. There's a purse of ducats, let her send it. Tell her I'm arrested in the street, and thou shalt bail me. He, slave, he, be gone, an officer to prison to thee.
To Adrena. This is where where Darcel did claim me for her husband. She is too big, I hope, for me to compass neither must, although against my will. For servants must their masters' minds fulfill.
After our scene, Antipholus of Syracuse is telling Dromio of Ephesus to get him a ship because he was supposed to go to jail. During this time, Antipholus of Ephesus ended up getting arrested instead of Antipholus of Syracuse. Antipholus of Ephesus tells Dromio of Syracuse to figure out a way to get him out of jail. Dromio of Syracuse goes to Antipholus of Ephesus's house and asks his mistress for bail money. Dromio of Syracuse gets the bail money and brings it to Antipholus of Syracuse. Antipholus of Syracuse does not need bail money, so he was very confused. He asked Dromio of Syracuse again about the ship, thinking he was talking to Dromio of Ephesus. Antipholus of Syracuse gets frustrated and starts beating Dromio of Syracuse. At the end of the story, Angelo is with Antipholus of Syracuse, who had known he's had the chain the whole time. Antipholus of Syracuse told Angelo he never denied having the chain. Angelo gets mad and threatens to put him in jail again. Then both of the Antipholuses and Dromios end up outside and realize this has all been one big confusion. Everyone is now not in trouble, and they laugh off the big mix-up.
The British Theatre Guide states that Shakespeare's Comedy of Errors is brought into glorious life. Actors stroll across the stage, swapping and doubling their roles with heady speed. Every movement is filled with physical or aerial comic gem. A gesture, a look, a grunt of disbelief, all travel effortlessly to an audience eager to catch every nuance of the humor. This play is very short compared to Shakespeare's other works. It is the shortest he's ever written. We enjoyed reading and learning this play because, in our opinion, it was unlike any of Shakespeare's plays. We also felt like it was a bit confusing with two sets of twins with the same name. This play had many moments of comic relief and action that were enjoyable to read.